Myths and Lies in the Stars. Admiral Varric stood on the bridge of the massive warship Zerlin, gazing out at the stars. Around him, screens flickered with data and signals from across the fleet. Hundreds of ships, all prepared for invasion, floated, silently in formation, like steel wolves ready to strike. "Status report," he commanded. "Scans are clear, Admiral." "No resistance detected," replied Commander Threx, his second in command. "The system ahead is called Sol 3, old records. Say it once had a species called humans, but they're long gone. Just myths now." Varric laughed, a deep, mocking sound. "Humans? Those are bedtime stories. No one has seen one in over 300 cycles. If they ever existed, they're dead now. We'll take this system with ease." A younger officer at the corner of the command deck shifted uncomfortably. Ensign Coro had grown up hearing strange stories about humans. Not from official channels, but from old traders, mercenaries, and war veterans. They spoke in whispers about a race that burned worlds, fought like monsters, and disappeared without a trace. "Sir," Coro said carefully, "what if the stories are true? Some reports say they vanished on purpose." Varric turned to him, amused. "On purpose? You think an entire species erased itself just to become a myth?" He scoffed. "No, they were weak, and the galaxy erased them." The fleet continued, moving forward. They were approaching the edge of the Sol system. Scanners picked up a planet cold, lifeless, barren. No signs of civilization. Only ancient broken satellites drifted like ghosts. "Is this Earth?" Threx asked. Coro nodded. "It matches old maps." Varric shook his head. "A graveyard. Good. No one to resist." Suddenly, the communications console beeped. A weak signal was being received. Everyone turned toward the sound. "Play it," Varric ordered. A voice crackled through the speakers, distorted, ancient, and low. "This is your final warning. Turn back. Do not enter the dark." Silence fell on the bridge. "Repeat." "That," Varric demanded. The voice played again. "Turn back. This is your final warning." "No source detected," the comms officer reported. "The signal came from a dead satellite, but that satellite isn't listed in any star charts." Varric frowned. "It's probably an old recording. Humans loved their drama. Ignore it." But Coro wasn't so sure. His eyes stayed fixed on the stars outside Dot. As the fleet moved deeper into the system, strange readings began to appear. Small energy spikes, ghost signals, flickers of heat signatures, but nothing stayed long enough to be confirmed. "Perhaps background radiation," Threx suggested. Varric nodded. "Continue. Prepare landing ships. I want ground scans of every planet." Just then, a scout vessel on the edge of the formation sent a distress ping out. Then nothing. No visuals. No audio. Just "Gone," said the sensor operator. Within seconds, a second ship vanished. No explosion, no warning, just silence. Varric's fists clenched. "Scramble, fighters. Find out what's happening." Fighter wings launched from the hangars, spreading out across space like hornets. They scanned. They searched nothing. Then, one fighter sent back a short burst of footage. It showed SOMETHING, a shadow. A shape in the dark. Large, sharp, moving too fast for sensors to lock on. Then static. Gone. Koro stepped forward slowly. "Sir, the stories always said humans could hide. That they built ships that didn't exist on scanners. That they waited." Varric slammed his fist on the console. "Enough with your ghost stories. This is a scientific fleet, not a haunted ship." But more alerts began to flash red. Ship after ship was disappearing. No explosions, no wreckage. Only emptiness left behind. A cold chill spread across the bridge. For the first time, Admiral Varric didn't laugh. He whispered, almost to himself, "If they're still out there, what have they become?" Outside the ship, far in the distance, a ripple of space bent and twisted. Something massive moved, just for a second. Then it was gone again. Dot watching, Dot waiting, Dot the myth was no longer a story. Dot. It was real. Dot, and it was awake. Dot the silence. Before the fire, the fleet of the Zarn Dominion drifted silently into the heart of the Sol system. Dot, no planets responded. No ships appeared. The stars were quiet, almost too quiet. It felt wrong. Admiral Varric stared at the screen in front of him. The missing ships were still not showing. No debris, no signals, no signs of battle. Any updates from our scouts? He asked coldly. Commander Threx shook his head. Nothing, Admiral. They're just gone. Like they were never here. The silence pressed down on the bridge, like invisible weight. Koro, the young ensign, glanced around nervously. "Sir, what if something is watching us?" Varric didn't answer. The fleet reached the edge of a large asteroid belt. Beyond it, they could see a small blue planet, partially hidden behind rings of dust. "Earth," Koro whispered. The planet looked untouched. No cities, no lights, no orbiting stations. Just water, clouds, and land. Beautiful, but empty. Varric narrowed his eyes. "Scan for any artificial structures." "Scans show nothing, sir," the operator replied. "But something strange. The magnetic field around the planet is fluctuating, like it's being manipulated." Varric's voice was low. "That's impossible. Magnetic fields don't move on their own." Suddenly, a new sound echoed through the ship's systems, a slow hum. A low, deep frequency that vibrated through the walls. "What is that?" Threx asked, alarmed. "It's not coming from our systems," the engineer replied. "It's being broadcast from somewhere." "Everywhere." Koro leaned toward the screen. The static cleared for a moment. A single symbol appeared. A circle. Split in half, glowing red, and a voice calm, emotionless, spoke through the comms. "You were warned. You chose to enter the dark." The lights on the bridge flickered. Systems glitched. Weapons briefly powered down. Panic spread across the crew. "Shields up," Varric barked. "Activate every scanner. I want to see what's out there." The crew rushed to respond, but the system was slow. Too slow. One of the rear destroyers suddenly exploded in complete silence. No beam, no missile. It was as if something invisible had crushed it from the inside. "What was that?" Threx shouted. "Unknown. No enemy detected." Then another ship vanished. And another. The fleet had just entered a trap. Far behind the asteroid field, something moved. From the shadows, a massive shape began to emerge. Long, black, and silent like a predator in the deep ocean. No engine sound. No communication. No energy spikes. Just movement. A human warship, but not like anything ever recorded in Zarn. History. Its design was brutal. No lights, no markings. Just metal and shadow. It moved between ships, invisible until it was too late. Lasers? Missiles? No. It didn't fire. It consumed. One ship tried to escape. It was gone within seconds. Varric stood frozen. Koro whispered, "They're not attacking with force. They're attacking with fear." Another voice came through the speakers, this time clear and sharp. "This is Earth Command. You were warned. Leave now or be erased." Varric clenched his jaw. Who dares speak to the Zarn Dominion? Like this? The ones you called extinct. The voice vanished. Now, the earth below no longer looked calm. The clouds twisted unnaturally. The oceans shimmered with strange reflections. It was not an empty world. It was waiting. "Commander." Threx backed away from the console. "Admiral, we Must retreat. This is not a battlefield. It's a trap. They're not dead. They've been hiding, preparing. But before Varric could respond, the stars behind them twisted again. More shadows. More shapes. And then came the flash. A human fleet decloaked. All around them. Dozens of ships. All different in size and shape. But all with one purpose: to finish what the myth had started. The hunters in the shadows. The human ships moved without sound, without light. No engines roared, no weapons glowed. They didn't need to announce themselves. They were already everywhere. Admiral Varric stood frozen on the bridge of the Zerlin. Around him, the command crew worked in silence, hands shaking over their controls. No one dared speak. The enemy, if they could even be called that, had surrounded them. Are they waiting? Commander Threx whispered. The answer came not in words, but in action. One Zarn cruiser turned to fire at the nearest human vessel. Its weapon bays glowed red, charging plasma bolts. Before the shot could leave the barrel, the cruiser exploded from the inside. Everyone on the Zerlin watched in horror. There had been no incoming fire, no missile, no laser. Internal meltdown? One officer guessed. No, Koro said quietly. They're inside the ship. Varric turned sharply. Inside? That's impossible. But it wasn't. Across the fleet, systems began to fail. Doors opened and closed on their own. Lights flickered. Weapons refused to activate. Engines went offline. They've hacked our systems, the tech officer reported, panic in her voice. Our firewalls. They're useless. More footage came in from other ships. Small shapes were boarding them: drones, machines, soldiers in black armor. They didn't speak. They didn't hesitate. They moved like shadows and vanished after each strike. They're disabling us, not destroying us, Threx said. They could have wiped us out already. Then why haven't they? Varric growled. The answer came through the speakers. Once again, a voice call. Cold, human. We are not here for your destruction. We are here for your memory. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? No one replied. Suddenly, the Zerlin shuddered. Not from a hit from something docking. Boarding attempt, the security officer shouted. They're inside. Soldiers rushed to the hangar bays, but it was too late. The cameras showed the enemy boarding party humans. Tall, armored in black, silent. Their armor absorbed light. Their faces were covered with cold, featureless masks. No insignias. No names. They didn't walk. Like soldiers. They moved like hunters. Open fire. Varric yelled into the COMMS. Security teams opened fire in the hallways. Laser bolts flew, but the human intruders didn't fall. Their armor shimmered, absorbing the impact. In return, they used strange energy blades and rapid pulse weapons clean. Silent, deadly. Cameras blacked out one by one. On the bridge, silence fell again. They're coming here, Koro said, voice shaking. Threx turned to the Admiral. We have to escape. There's still a chance if we activate the warp drives. Do it, Varric barked. The engineer tried. Drive controls are locked. They've taken over navigation. Your fleet is now under human control, said the voice. Then came another message, one not sent to the Zerline alone, but to every Zarn ship, officer, and soldier. You erased our name. You made us a ghost. Now we become your nightmare. Varric stared at the main screen, trembling. How did they survive? How did they build all this without anyone knowing? Koro answered him, voice steady now. They didn't hide from the galaxy. They hid in it, right beneath us, watching, waiting. On the view screen, one of the human ships slowly turned. Its surface shimmered like a cloak of space itself. Then it vanished. Cloaked, invisible, deadly. They weren't soldiers. They weren't survivors. They were hunters, Dot, and now the hunt had begun. The corridors of the Zerlan were no longer quiet. Screams echoed through steel walls. Gunfire rattled, then fell silent. Step by step, the humans moved through the massive warship like ghosts reclaiming a graveyard. Admiral Varric watched the chaos unfold on what few cameras still worked. His once great flagship, pride of the Zarn Dominion, was now a cage, and the predators were already inside. "Seal the command deck," he shouted. Metal doors slammed shut, cutting off the bridge from the rest of the ship. The crew stood in silence, eyes wide, breaths tight. "We can still fight," Varric said, trying to sound strong. "We are the Dominion. We do not fear shadows." Koro slowly turned toward him. "Then why is your hand shaking?" Varric looked down. It was true. His fingers trembled against the console. Threx moved beside him. "Admiral?" "They didn't come here to conquer us. They're showing us something. A message. A warning." "Warning for what?" Varric snapped. Before anyone could answer, the main screen flickered. A video played. Old, damaged. Human. It showed a ruined city Earth long ago. Alien ships burned in the sky. Human soldiers fought among rubble, outnumbered, bleeding. But they did not stop. One by one, they fell but never ran. The footage changed. Human scientists gathered in deep underground bunkers, building something, planning. Then came the last image. A massive command room. A human leader stood before a black screen. He spoke into the camera, calm and cold. "If this message is playing, it means they erased us, lied about our death, hid our fire, but they cannot hide what we left behind. This galaxy will remember us, even if we must return from the dark to remind it." The message ended. The screen turned to static. No one on the bridge spoke for several seconds. "They planned this," Threx whispered. "They allowed the galaxy to think they were dead, so they could become something else. A myth," Koro added. A warning wrapped in silence. Suddenly, the deck shook again. This time, a human transmission cut through every channel. "You have stolen, destroyed, forgotten. This is your lesson." Across the fleet, similar videos began to play. Each ship received different memories of battles lost, cities burned, and allies betrayed. All by the Zarn Dominion. All forgotten. Until now. On the Zerlan, the engines powered down. The ship stopped moving. "We've lost all propulsion." An officer shouted. "They're pulling us somewhere," the navigator said. "Not by tractor beam. By hacking the gravity stabilizers." Outside the bridge, cameras showed other Zarn ships doing the same, slowly turning, aligning into formation, unwillingly. And then a shape appeared on the edge of space. Huge. Silent. Human. MEGASTRUCTURE. It looked like a space station, but it had no windows, no lights. Just black steel stretching miles wide. It was built from forgotten tech, old alloys, and new power. It didn't look like it belonged in the present. It looked like a relic from a future the galaxy had tried to bury. "What is that?" Varric asked, his voice quiet now. Koro's voice was steady. "That's the memory. That's what we were never supposed to see." The structure lit up slowly. A ring of red energy formed around it. Not a weapon. A beacon, broadcasting one signal across the stars. We never died. We adapted. Then, one final message was sent to the Zerlan, personally addressed to Varric. "You erased our name from your records. You called us a myth. But history does not belong to the victor. It belongs to the survivor. Now you will survive, only to carry the memory forward." The bridge lights dimmed. Then came the silence again. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was heavy with meaning. Varric looked around at his broken command center, at his crew, shaken. At the stars, once full of pride and certainty now cold, and unknowable. The humans weren't just back. They had become something more. Not conquerors, not invaders, just a forgotten force returning to say, we never left. The fleet of the Zarn Dominion, once proud, powerful, and feared, now floated helplessly in space. The stars no longer felt welcoming. They felt like a trap. Every Zarn ship was offline. No engines, no weapons, no escape. Human ships surrounded them, not just warships, with strange vessels shaped like blades, wings, and shadows. Designs never seen in any known galactic records. Some even looked grown, not built. Inside the Zerlin, Admiral Varric stood still. His hands gripped the edge of the console. His jaw was tight, but the fear in his eyes betrayed everything. They're not just soldiers, he said. They're executioners. Commander Threx was quiet, his face pale. Maybe not. Koro turned from the screen. Then why are we still alive? Varric didn't have an answer. Across the screen, the massive human megastructure loomed closer. Its surface began to shift, opening slowly like a flower. In space, inside, a brilliant red core pulsed, sending waves of data into the Dominion fleet. And then it spoke again. You wanted the galaxy to forget us, but we never forgot you. Every colony burned, every child lost. Every lie you wrote in your history books, we remembered. On each Dominion ship, old war footage was forced onto their screens. Footage they had deleted, hidden, erased. The Zarn soldiers had destroyed Earth's outer colonies in secret centuries ago. They bombed without warning. They stole human technology. Then, when Earth began to resist, they spread the lie. Humans are extinct. They weren't extinct. They were rebuilding. Underground. In shadows. In silence. And now they were finished hiding. Suddenly, the lead human warship decloaked. It was massive, longer than the Zerlin, but completely black. Its surface didn't reflect any light. It looked like a living scar on the stars. It's not even showing up on our sensors, said the tech officer. It's like it bends space around it. The ship turned slowly toward the Zerlin. Its weapons glowed red for the first time. They're charging. Threx whispered. Kor. O stepped forward. Wait, we haven't attacked. We can still. The human ship fired. A single beam of crimson. Energy cut across space, clean, silent, perfect. It didn't hit the XCR lawn. Vaporized a Zarn war frigate to their left. No explosion. Just gone. Nothing remained. No sound. No wreckage. Just emptiness. They're showing us what they can do, Varric said. His voice was dry, almost hoarse. They're giving us a choice. The message came again. You will carry this memory. If you forget again, we will not warn you next time. Then came the final shock. From the human fleet, a single ship broke formation and flew toward the XER lawn. It didn't attack. It docked. Inside the airlock. A single human stood unarmed, armored, and silent. The doors opened. On the bridge, crew raised their weapons. Stand down, Koro said, voice low. If they wanted us dead, we would already be ashes. The human stepped forward. His armor was scarred, faded, and marked with a symbol no one recognized. A symbol of Earth, split in half, burning on one side, growing on the other. He removed his helmet, and everyone froze. He looked. Normal. Human. But his eyes were not normal. They were ancient. Full of memory. He spoke, calmly. I am Captain Ryan of the Soul Defense Corps. Your war ended long ago, but your crimes were never buried. We are here to remind you. Varric stepped forward. Then, why not destroy us? Because you are not the enemy anymore, Ryan said. You are the witness. The bridge was silent again. Koro lowered his weapon. You want us to tell others. Ryan nodded. Yes, the galaxy must remember. Not for revenge. For truth. Then he turned, walked back to the airlock, and disappeared. Moments later, all systems returned online. Power. Engines. Weapons. But no one moved. Not even Varric. Because they knew now. They weren't spared out of mercy. They were spared to carry the weight of truth. The Zarn fleet drifted slowly away from the human armada. No shots were fired. No chase followed. Only silence. But this silence was different now. It was not the silence of space. It was the silence of fear and respect. On board the Zerlin, Admiral Varric stared at the stars. His fleet, though intact, felt broken. Their pride was shattered. Their weapons were useless. Their victory turned into humiliation. And yet, they were alive. Koro stood beside him, quietly observing the shrinking view of the human megastructure. It now appeared like a dark moon, slowly fading into the shadows it had come from. Do you believe now? Koro asked. Varric didn't answer at first. His hands rested on the control panel, his voice lower than ever. They were never myths, he finally said. We made them that way. We buried the truth because we feared it. Commander Threx added, and now they've made sure that Galaxy can't forget again. A new message was sent from Earth Command. This time, it was not a warning. It was a data package. Millions of records, images, voice logs, history. Proof, not proof, that the humans had once built wonders. That they had been betrayed. That they had fought to the last breath and then vanished on purpose, waiting for the day their story could return. This information was automatically broadcast to all major civilizations in the galaxy. By the time the Zarn ships reached the outer rim, the myth of Earth was no longer a legend. It was a truth, and it was terrifying. Admiral Varric recorded a personal message to the Dominion. High Council. His face was tired, his tone broken. This is not a war report. This is a confession. We thought we erased the humans, but they remembered everything, and they have become something greater than us. They didn't want our destruction. They wanted our silence to end. We invaded thinking we were gods, but we were just children playing with fire, and we got burned. He paused before the last line. They told us to remember. So I am doing exactly that. The message was sent throughout the galaxy. Fear spread fast. Leaders asked questions. Scientists studied the human data. And in every dark corner where the myth of Earth once lived, a new truth took root. Humans are real, and they are watching. Back aboard the Zerlin, the crew stood at attention. Admiral Varric gave his last order for the journey home. Leave this system. No ships are to return here, ever. Koro, now standing tall and confident, looked back once more at the dark space behind them. He knew they had been spared not out of mercy, but out of purpose. The humans had chosen them to carry the warning, and he would never forget the final voice that had echoed in their minds before leaving. You should have believed the myth. The end.